It's stuck with me for the rest of my life. So hard to talk about.
You're good. Take a deep breath. Take your time.
I've completely shut off my personal life and like sharing that. I'm so ready and happy to open up. I hated him, to be honest with you. That was very eye-opening for me. He started drinking so heavily. Police being called in and out of our house growing up, arresting him. I don't want to get emotional. I honestly don't. I just want to talk about it, you know. My dad ruined every moment that could have possibly been a good moment in my life. Life had gotten rough, like worse and worse and worse. I remember that, okay. I hate that I'm crying about this. I really do, because like it hurts. This part hurts.
Laura, welcome to The Squeeze.
Ooh, I'm so excited to be here.
We are just absolutely so excited to have you. We adore you, and we're honestly really excited for people to hear your full story because you have lived a life, to say the least, and a lot of it you've never really opened up about before because it is so sensitive. And we just feel like so honored that you're here and that you trust us with this to share your story. So thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan of this podcast. I love everything you guys do. And I am so recluded online because I've been online for so many years. I've been doing this for 11 years. So I feel like, you know, maybe in like these past 5-6 years, I've been so recluded. I've completely shut off like my personal life and like sharing that. And we can totally jump in and talk about that. But recently I've been like, damn, I want to go back to like the old me and I want to open up more. And then you guys reached out to me with this podcast. I was like, wow, the universe really just delivered this on a silver platter for me. So I'm so honored to be here. And like, I'm so ready and happy to open up. Now, like the timing is everything, and it just couldn't be more perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's so full circle because can we say that like the Jacqueline connection?
Yeah.
You know, we've had Jacqueline and Jordan on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we've become very good friends with them recently. And she was like, you need to talk to Laura. Like she is just incredible. You guys would love her. Her story is just insane, and she's just an amazing person. So we were like, "Oh, we need to reach out to her."
Yeah.
And here we are.
Wow,
So that's how it all
What
happened.
an honor.
Which is just so cool.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Love Miss Hill.
Yes, we are a fan of the
Huge
Hill
fan.
Ford.
I'm a huge fan.
Okay, so I figured we should just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you had a very chaotic, to say the least, childhood that shaped you in a pretty big way. And when you think back on your childhood, what are like the first few things that come to mind?
Woo! I've mentioned like online that I've had a chaotic childhood, but I've never really gone into the details of like what that was. And I've mentioned online that my father was an alcoholic, and that had a lot to do with why my childhood was so chaotic.
Yeah. But
I never really talked about the details of that. And I'm excited to. I'm ready to. I want to. So I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. And just to give some context to my parents, they grew up like in a super like country rural area in Alabama. Like my mom grew up, she was born in 58, but like she grew up in the 60s and 70s. No running water in the house. You know, just like super country. She had 7 brothers and sisters, and like they all raised each other, and it was just like the wild, wild South that my mom grew up in. And kind of same for my dad. My mom dropped out of high school at 17 to marry my dad. They moved to Montgomery, Alabama, which is a capital city, but it's still a very small city. It's probably 150,000 people population. So like I live in LA. What are we, 9 million? You know what I mean? It's all about perspective. So if you're from a smaller part of Alabama, you're going to be like, no, that's the city. But like my perspective, it is smaller. But my parents moved there, got married, and my mom was, God, they were so young, but they started having children. They had my brother and sister. And then I was born, and my parents didn't raise us traditionally just because for them, they were raised like so Southern. They're like working like on a farm, and like that was important. And you had kids to like help feed the family and like take care of like farm, life.
Yeah.
It was just so different how they were raised. So they kind of raised us that way, honestly, which is so interesting because like we weren't born at that time, but we were kind of raised similarly to them.
Yeah.
And my mom, by the time my mom had me, I will say my dad was a good man, but he started drinking so heavily about the time I was born. So my whole life, my perspective of my father is him being an alcoholic. Okay. And when I say I had a like chaotic childhood, it really has to do a lot with him and that, because my mom was the best, absolute best. And then, gosh, all the details that go into that. It's like, where do I even begin with that? My earliest memories are police being called in and out of our house growing up, arresting him. My dad, one Thanksgiving, we were, God, we're just jumping right in. I'm like, we're not wasting any time. Let me talk about my childhood trauma. I'm opening Reddit.
That's what we do here. We get to the point.
We're getting right to the point.
We're 3 minutes in.
And I want to talk. I'm not excited, but I'm like ready to talk about this, and I want to. And like my perspective in my life, I was like, I'm never going to share this stuff. We're going to tuck this stuff away. But being raised in a family with alcoholism and addiction, people do talk about it, but they don't talk about it enough how it affects everyone in a 10-mile radius of that, especially the children that grow up in that home, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we had Thanksgivings, like driving down to see our family in the South, and my dad's like pulled over DOI and arrested out of the car. And, as a child, like that's a core memory for me. And like I'm screaming for the police not to take my dad. And I'm probably like 5 or 6 years old. And I remember it clear as day. And I hated cops growing up because I had such a bad relationship with them, because the many instances they were called into our home to break up fights. Even with my sister, called into our home to deal with my sister. And my sister, I don't want to say she was just as chaotic as my dad, but it did get there.
Yeah.
I feel like my dad ruined every moment that could have possibly been a good moment in my life. Like every now and again, we would drive down to the beach, and I remember I was so small, and I don't know who let this man rent a jet ski. Going crazy. Just imagine some southern drunk guy with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth going crazy on a jet ski. That's like the epitome of my dad, okay? And he pulls up on shore so fast, he almost runs me over with a jet ski, takes me out. So the guy who owns the company sees it happen, sees him run over this little girl on the beach. He didn't even know it was his own daughter. Rips him off the jet ski and starts beating the shit out of my dad. So for me, I'm like, oh my God, this horrible man beat my dad. Like that's trauma for me. Like I'm not seen as he was the problem. Yeah. We go to the lake. He's pissed drunk, and they're like, you can't drive your truck. David, that was his name. And he's like, I'm driving. Drive his truck into a ditch, wrecks it. Leaves us all stranded and in trouble. That is like just a couple like pinch stories of my childhood that I grew up with, and that was my normal, I guess we could say.
Well, that's the thing for a kid that's that young, that's normal in your mind at that time.
What do I have to compare it to?
You see somebody beating up your dad, you're like, why are they beating up my dad?
Yeah.
You don't see the chaos and crazy that his life choices are causing everybody around him.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think that our life is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not like pinpointing him because I'm young at this point. And to be honest with you, like growing up in Alabama, there are a lot of families that are just like mine.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not like, wow, why is this family so great? Like, honestly, a lot of the families around me were like similar situations as mine.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was normal, and I really wasn't judged for it.
Yeah. Did addiction run in your family, or I guess 2 questions. 1, did it run in your family? And also, did something spark your dad becoming an alcoholic?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. What's funny? Addiction run in my mom's side of the family, and she had no addiction issues, but it didn't run in my dad's side. And we had a neighbor move in about the time I was born. He moved in next door, and he was an alcoholic. My dad became his best friend. My dad always drank. He'd been smoking Cowboy Killers, what we call them, with the Marlboro Red, since he was 15 years old, and he always drank a lot. But he was totally functioning and wasn't an alcoholic, and he knew that he could put it down. But once he started hanging out with his neighbor, it's so cliche because I live in Alabama, but going fishing with him constantly, it was like boom overnight.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And my dad, growing up, just like a regular day in our life, he would come home. He worked at a car lot. And my mom was a daycare teacher, so we were very low income, very low income. Like our water power were cut off literally all the time. Like I would even see the waterman truck come up to the meter and you go plug up the bathtub and turn it on. So you would get water for the day. Sorry, I don't want to get emotional. I honestly don't. I just want to talk about it,
Yeah.
Until your parents could get it cut back on. So he would come in for work, handshaking. Every day he would drink a 12-pack of Natty Light, which is crazy to me. The concept of drinking 12 beers a day, like that's crazy to me as an adult, like realizing what that is.
Yeah,
I'm like, how do you even do that?
Yeah.
How did you even do that and stay alive for as long as you did?
Yeah.
And he would chain smoke the cigarettes. So my mom didn't like cigarette smell in our house growing up. So we had a tiny little storage shed with a refrigerator in there, and he would go out there every night and just sit out there all night drinking, smoking, and listening to country music and pass out like this. And we would have pictures. He had a cigarette, the ash that long on it, hanging out of his hand every night, every single night. And that was my normal. Like I wasn't like, oh, my dad's so crazy. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, daddy's in the storage shed, you know, and he didn't really have anything to do with us.
Was there ever a point where you were like, oh, like that's like my dad is an alcoholic. He's really struggling. Like that's not good. Or was it just, you never really thought about it?
Was it always that's dad?
Yeah.
It was always that's dad, but my mom was never one to shelter us from anything going on because, and she loved my dad so much, but she hated him because he made us all miserable and her miserable. And she was just very vocal on your damn daddy's an alcoholic and he's ruining our life. You know, like she was very vocal. So eventually that clicked for me. And like my mom was very open, like this is the fucking problem. And so it's like, why didn't she leave? Well, she lived off a daycare salary. So I think she was making about $8 an hour raising children.
Yeah.
Okay, what would happen right now if I told you to go into your bathroom, wherever you keep your skincare products, pull them all out and count how many you have? If you're like me, there's definitely more than needed in that drawer because I don't know why, but there's just so many products just accumulate and they don't even get used. They end up getting expired. But what if I said that you just need 5 that you would proudly put on display on your vanity? Well, with JLo Beauty, that's all you need for radiant, glowing skin. You can get the JLo Glow with JLo's Beauty Deluxe Kit, the one and done skincare solution clinically proven to boost your skin's radiance and luminosity for an immediate, lasting glow. The secret to JLo Beauty's 5-step routine featuring 5 multitasking formulas designed to cleanse, refresh, and prep your skin to take on the day. That JLo Deluxe Kit is an easy-to-follow AM/PM solution that gives your skin a smoother, visibly brighter look, improves the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and protects against UVAs and UVBs. I've tried that Blockbuster Hydrating Cream, and it makes your skin feel so plump and dewy, and I can see why 100% of people from an 8-week clinical study who tried it said that they had smoother skin. Also, I just love the container. It's so radiant and beautiful. I love leaving my JLo Deluxe Kit out on the dresser, and it's so chic yet affordable, which is something that I absolutely love. Get the only skincare routine you'll need. Head to jlobeauty.com/squeeze to receive 20% off. 3 free gifts, including 2 quality face masks and 1 hydrating bezel balm. Head to jlobeauty.com/squeeze for 20% off and 3 free gifts, a $175 value. jlobeauty.com/squeeze. I know that there are so many of us out there, myself included, that love soda, love a bubbly drink, but don't like all of the nasty chemicals that are in soda. And if you're like me and you're looking for a good alternative, I have got the perfect drink for you, and that is Culture Pop Soda. It's like a perfect mix between a seltzer and a soda. It's full of flavor, complex, and it is absolutely refreshing. I would debate it tastes better than any soda I've had. It's delicious, refreshing, and it's with the perfect amount of sweetness. And unlike other healthy sodas out there, Culture Pop is sweetened with fruit juice. It's only made with organic fruit juice and organic spices. They don't use any sweeteners, no added sugar, no stevia, no aspartame, which makes for a delicious soda drink. And Culture Pop is sold nationally at over 10,000 stores, including Whole Foods, Walmart, and more. This has been my go-to little treat. You guys know how I love a little afternoon pick me up. I've been trying not to drink as much coffee as I have been, especially in the middle of the day, trying not to have too many energy drinks. And this is just like the taste it gives to the taste buds. It just kind of like gives you like a little zing. It gets you ready to keep going throughout your day, like a little treat without all of the yuckiness that comes in a typical treat. You can visit drinkculturepop.com and use code SQUEEZE at checkout for 20% off your first purchase. Again, that's code SQUEEZE at drinkculturepop.com for 20% off your first order. I cannot wait for you guys to try. In today's crowded market of supplements and wellness products, it can be hard to find options you truly feel good about. Many products contain artificial ingredients and fillers, leaving you uncertain about what truly benefits your health and what doesn't. That's why I turn to Just Ingredients. Leading the way in transparency and ingredient integrity, they use only the best nature has to offer to create high-quality products that nourish your body inside and out. They avoid natural and artificial flavors, dyes, and artificial sweeteners. Plus, they rigorously test their products for heavy metals and other harmful substances. Just Ingredients products are designed to enhance your well-being and help you feel your best. From their protein powder made with 4 to 5 sources of protein, including grass-fed, non-denatured whey, to their electrolytes flavored with fruit powder and an optimal 3-to-1 potassium to sodium ratio, to their unique adaptogen and botanical-based supplements like berberine, magnesium, omega-3s. Each product supports your health naturally. To get your hands on these products, or if you want to try these products for yourself, go to justingredients.us and use my code SQUEEZE for 15% off, the best discount code available. You can also find them on Instagram at just.ingredients, where they share tips to help you become more informed consumer and teach you how to understand ingredient labels and suggest easy swaps to help you embrace healthier, toxin-free lifestyle. Again, you can use code SQUEEZE for 15% off on their website, justingredients.us.
Was there ever a point with him where things did get violent at all?
You know, I always say, I'm like, damn, the bar is in hell, but my dad never hit my mom and my parents never cheated on each other. And I'm like, that is something to be so proud of. And I'm like, is the bar or is the bar in hell?
Yeah.
No, not violent. I would say honestly, just being transparent, my dad put my mom through so much. Not that she was like violent towards him, where she would just outright hit him. But I remember one night, they had the biggest fight ever. And he decided to walk through the house with a lit cigarette. And as I said, that's like huge no-no, which is funny because in the wintertime, we used a fireplace, a wood fireplace to warm our house. So she would let him smoke cigarettes in the house because she thought the smoke would go up the chimney. I'm like, Mom, the whole house smells like a Marlboro Red. Like, babes, it's not doing what you think it's doing. Like, you think it's not.
It's
and like,
thought.
right.
Yeah.
And like the carpet in front of our fireplace had like 50 cigarette burn marks because he would also pass out there every night, just passed out.
Oh, that became the new shed.
Yes, exactly. In the winter, that was the shed, but he would always let a cigarette burn out on the carpet.
Wow.
Yes, so that was normal for me. But my mom just made it so vocal. Like, I realized pretty early on, outside of like, 6-7 years old, I feel like catching on, like, okay, he's the bad guy here. The police aren't the bad guy that's arresting him.
Yeah.
Family's not the bad guy. He's the problem.
Huh.
Yeah.
And how much older were your brother and sister?
My brother's 6 years older than me. My sister's 2 years older than me. So me and my sister were like pretty much the same kind of age.
Yeah.
And then my brother was a bit older. And to be honest with you, my brother experienced a little more of my dad outside of his alcoholism. So he kind of had a real love for my dad. I think he still does. My dad's passed now, but I think he still does because he would
like a
kind of
soft
defend
spot.
him. Yeah, like a soft spot for him. Exactly.
Yeah. That's
And
interesting.
I think he saw something that I didn't, but also these things affect kids differently. And sometimes you yearn from the love that you didn't get for me, I did not yearn for his love. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I hated him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how have the three of you coped? Has it been similar, different?
Completely different. It's so funny because the three of us were raised in the exact same chaotic environment, but we all came out 100% different. My sister fell right into the addiction, and honestly, she from a young age, I don't want to put on it that she was like my dad, because they were just like two completely different people, but their habits were the same and their
Right.
behavior was similar. Like their bad behavior was similar. And to be honest with my brother, he removed himself from the situation pretty quickly. When he graduated high school at 18, he moved back and just never came back. He was like, I'm out.
Okay.
And I think because I'm the youngest, I absorbed it all. You know, like I was like, okay,
Yeah.
crazy pants over here. My sister couldn't stand her because she was in so much trouble, made our lives even more chaotic. The older she got, like into junior high school, she was like,
Yeah. When did her problems start?
honestly, elementary school.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
What would that look like? What would that be at that age?
I mean, she would get in big people trouble. I will say that she would get in big people trouble. She had trouble with the law, the police by 6th grade.
Wow.
You know, she was riding around drinking at probably 14, 13 years old. I remember she had gotten a pack of my dad's cigarettes because she wanted to smoke at a young age. Gee, I wonder where she got that from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she would smoke them, but my mom would totally beat her ass if we were caught smoking cigarettes at a young age. And I remember she used to run off to the woods and make me come with her and make me smoke the cigarettes too, because I couldn't tell on her if I smoked the cigarettes.
Oh, funny.
Yes.
Genius.
She's a genius. She is a genius. And that's what's so sad about her trouble, because my sister's like the smartest, biggest hustler I've ever met in my entire life. I think if she was raised with structure, a father figure, a traditional family, we'll get into her a little more, but I don't think she would have ended up where she ended up at all.
Yeah.
And then me, I was on the outside in, so I'm absorbing all this and I'm experiencing all of it. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it all, and I hated it. I hated how my family was. I hated how my childhood, I used the word from like Tony Robbins seminar, but like uncertainty. There was never certainty. It wasn't safe. It wasn't secure. So I think I craved that.
Yeah. So you saw what was happening with dad, with sister, and by the way, did your brother struggle with addiction?
Not at all.
No.
He doesn't even drink a drop. Completely sober, but not because he needed to be sober. Not at all.
But when he turned 18, he was just like, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But you saw then what's going on with your dad, your sister, and you were able to like rebel against that and be like,
Yeah.
I see what that does to the people I care about. I don't want that for myself.
Right. And I feel like that's rare. Like, I feel like most of the time, and maybe I'm wrong about that, and that's why I want to open up and talk about it, but I feel like most of the time you become like the environment you're raised in. And I do. So my mom worked at a daycare that was attached to a tiny Christian school. It's an expensive private school to go to. I went to public school, of course. And my mom had worked there enough years where she earned one free child to go there. And so she was like, I'm going to put you in private school and give you a good chance. And I was like, Mama, I don't want to go to this school. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
They're like, honestly, I was like, they're like weird Christian kids. And like, look at my life. Like, I can't be thrown in with these kids. Like, are you crazy? Like, I'm going to be a demon next to them. Because they were so sheltered and holy and precious children.
Yeah.
They were raised with these great traditional parents and got straight A's, you know. And I went to public school and those kids were like me. And I fit in there. And she was like, no, you got to go. And I tested to get in. And like, we were so far behind in the public school education system
Yeah.
that they had to hold me back a whole grade. And I was it was 5th grade. And I was so pissed. Little did I know, like, babes, it's 5th grade.
Yeah.
You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. But I ended up going to school there, and I went for a few years, made some really great friends, but like as far as like the staff in the school, I was completely alienated.
Yeah.
They knew I went there for free. They knew I was one of the free kids. There were a couple of us free kids. They knew I was one of the free kids. And one of the biggest problems for them was like I didn't go to church there. And we really didn't go to church at all, to be honest with you. I did missionary work. I have a lot of lives I lived, but from like the age of like somewhere in like 12, 13, 14, I became a missionary for a little bit on my own outside of my family. I just started going to church to be a part of something. I would walk to church.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So crazy. That's the South for you, though.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I'll be a missionary for a few years and then go back to living my normal life. But I did that for a little while. But anyways, at the time of going to that school, I really didn't go to church much. And so every morning they would ask who went to church with attendance, and you would have to raise your hand and say if you went to church or not. Isn't that weird?
Oh, wow.
Like as an adult in my age, I'm like, hold on, that is weird.
And we wonder why people have like religion trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, raise your hand if you went to church
Yes.
or not, and then like make you feel shame
That.
if you didn't go to church that weekend.
That.
I know.
That's exactly what it was.
That's a tough one.
And as a kid, I would like sometimes have to lie because I'm like, God damn, it's been like a month and I haven't raised my hand once and I went to church. And like the whole class is raising their hand because they all their parents are a part of the church, the school. You know, I'm on the outskirts of it. And there were probably like 2 or 3 of us that was. So sometimes I would just lie and be like, I'm going to hell. But I was like, I went to church this Sunday. I was there. So yeah.
So funny.
So that was weird for me. And then by the time I was going into 9th grade, I said, my mom, I want to go back to public school. You got to get me out of here. Also at that time, I may be jumping ahead too far, but I had to start working, you know, and these kids, like babes, they were going to start working until they graduate, but I had to start like providing and working and grow up really fast. And my life was so different from theirs. And by the way, those kids, because I would hang out with them sometimes and their families were so wonderful and beautiful. That was like the first time around 5th grade, I would go to their houses and realize, oh shit, this isn't normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I have a rough family.
Right.
I would see moms and dads love each other and like the dad would do everything for the daughter. And I was just like, I'm like, dads do that?
Yeah.
You call your dad when there's a problem? Like, what is that? I never had a man
Yeah.
that you call ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was like that was my whole point in trailing into that. They gave me my first understanding that there is a different life out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy.
And then when your sister is 16,
Yep.
she gets pregnant.
Yep.
And you're 14, she's 16, she gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
How long was it after that, because jumping forward here, your mom ends up leaving your dad?
Yep. So
Was it around that same time?
Yep, that's exactly what it was. So, I mean, you guys be like I said, like, why wouldn't you just leave this horrible, chaotic man? It was because together they made enough money, but separately there was like no way.
So that's what was holding her in it, is I can't survive without the combined.
That's exactly right. They couldn't survive without them being combined, and neither of them made great money. But they didn't even really make ends meet, to be honest with you, with them together as it was. Like anything we ever had, like our home, any car, anything, was because my grandpa would help out a little. And it would, like, they would always be like, can you throw us some more money? I know he was so sick of us because my dad was literally terrible. So imagine having this tyrant of a terrible son that you're constantly having to make up for.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm like, why did you guys have 3 kids? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, look at your situation. Look at your income. Like, they lived in a trailer for a while. Like, why are you having 3 kids? Like, that makes life so hard.
Yeah.
Like, my God. But they're from the South, and they just didn't really think like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having kids is just what you do, and then you make the best you can out of it.
Yeah.
And that's life. But, so my sister came home. I remember I was laying in the bed and she was crying on the phone, and we shared a bedroom our whole lives. And she was saying she was pregnant, and I was 14, but oh my God, I'm going to shit my stomach out because I was like, what are we going to do? Like, truly, like, life had gotten rough, like worse and worse and worse every year. My dad's drinking was worse, more chaotic than ever. And now it's like a baby.
His brother gone at that point? He had just left.
Gone.
So it's just you and your sister left
Mom
in the
and dad.
house. But now you're like, we're gonna add a
newborn
grandchild into
baby.
this? Yeah.
And my sister's 16. She was going into the 10th grade and she had to drop out of high school. But at that time, my mom was like, I made a huge mistake suffering it out and raising 3 of y'all with him. She was like, we're going to leave and I'm going to get a divorce and we're just going to have to live. Like, we're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And at the daycare that she worked at, she had a lot of really beautiful ladies in her life that also didn't have perfect lives. Totally bonded together and helped her with all of that. But I remember, that, so hard to talk about.
You're good. Take a deep breath.
Yeah, let
take
me
your
take a
time.
breath.
Take your time.
I remember that my mom was like, okay, we were always in cahoots together. So everything my mom was doing, even though we were young, she'd tell us everything. Like, okay, I think we're going to get an attorney. I think we're going to get out. Like, we were all in it together. We weren't like her children that she was like, she protected us, but her whole point in leaving was to protect us. But we were always like sisters. You know, we were like in it with my mom.
You were a team.
Yes. So, she was like, we're just not going to tell him because we have to live with him. And at the last minute when we're going to split, we'll tell him, we'll leave, we'll get out. Great. The night he walked through the house with a cigarette, oh my God, he knew it would trigger her so bad. She picks up a perfume bottle, starts spraying the man in the face as he's walking through the house. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to kill her and she's going to kill him. And she's like, I got a fucking lawyer and I'm leaving your ass. And I was like, no, because I'm like, we still have to live here.
That wasn't the plan.
That wasn't the plan.
Not what we talked about.
I'm like,
Oh my
what
gosh.
are you doing? She ratted us out that night. She was so mad. She was so over him, just so done. And he locked himself in the bedroom and got a gun out. And I was like, I thought he was going to kill himself. And I think my mom thought that too. Yeah. And that's the hard part of the story. And I don't remember what happened that night, but after my mom passed away, I was cleaning out her house and I found a police report from that night, but I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I blocked it out. I don't know what happened, but everybody stayed alive. So
Wow.
there was that. And like, we had to live in that. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But shortly after my mom left, we moved into a teeny tiny little apartment. Me and my mom shared a room, and my sister and her new baby shared a room. And that was like, honestly, I thought life was hard before, but
Yeah.
I just remember my mom, she thought she could do 2 jobs and just make it happen, barely make it happen. We can make it happen. I can get a job. My sister can get a job. We can figure it out. Like, and especially if there's only us 3 girls, you know, 4 technically, we have a newborn baby, but the baby and 3 women.
Yeah.
And we really couldn't. We like barely made it, to be honest with you. Like, I remember one night our power got cut off in our apartment and we had like, I hate that I'm crying about this. I really do, because like, it hurts. This part hurts because I remember it stuck with me for the rest of my life. But it's like, out of all the things I had been through in my life, like, this one really stuck with me. Our power had gotten cut off. We have a newborn baby. We need to warm up food with the baby. We can't even do that. And I remember my mom's like, I can call the power company and literally beg them and tell them we have a newborn and like, please just give us like a day with power. And like, she went in the bedroom and closed the door. And I remember just sitting on top of the stairs listening to her beg this power lady to turn the power on. And she was like, no, we cannot do that. And the lady on the phone, I even felt bad for her because she was on speaker and she was like, can you ask your church? Is there a family member like that can help you?
Yeah.
And there was just honestly no one. Like, my mom just had herself. And I was like, fuck, the world is tough. Like, I was, I think 15 at this point. And I was like, damn, the world is hard. Like, this is it. Like, that was very eye-opening for me. Like,
Yeah.
the world doesn't care, you know, that you have a newborn. If you don't pay your bills, like, you don't get power. And I absorbed that night. Like, that was a night I'll never forget. And my mom was like, felt like such a fucking failure to leave all that and us end up in a similar situation.
Yeah.
So my mom picked up a 3rd job. She would work one daycare from 6:30 to 2, another daycare from 3 to 4, and a pet store at night from 5 to 9 every single night. Wow. So she'd work 6:30 to 9 p.m. and we still had no money. So it's like, damn, the world is tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough world, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to grow up quick. My sister had to grow up quick. She was a new mom. She dropped out of school. And life was fucking rough those years. I thought it was going to be the best when we left my dad. By the way, my dad, as soon as my mom left, got fired from his job that he'd been at forever for being drunk on the job. But I do believe that they had kept him on there because they knew he had 3 kids and a wife, and they knew it's like the South. Like they knew if they fired him, they were like going to destroy our lives. And as soon as my mom left him, they were like, "You're out, buddy."
Yeah.
You know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So is your at this point your sister has a newborn. The 4 of you are, living together and trying to make ends meet. Is your sister at the height of addiction here? What's going on with her at this point in time?
I also want to talk about teen pregnancy because it affects people in so many ways that you can't even imagine. My sister, one, kind of always into trouble, always into bad things. I don't want to talk about like the specific things she was doing, like drugs, because I don't know what all she was taking and doing, but in the muck of it.
Yeah.
Gets pregnant, obviously was clean for that section of her life, and then has Aaron. And I think she was probably like good for like a year or so. But her having a kid so young, I think it affected her too in so many ways. And then she went straight off the deep end, really bad off. Okay. Probably about the time Aaron was like 2 years old. Okay. Really bad off. She had like kind of in and out of our house. My mom had Aaron a lot, but she was in and out of our house, like, I don't know, getting into God knows what. And at this time, I'm like, Mom, I want to go back to public school. I'll get a job. I'll figure it out. Like, I'll figure everything out for me. And my mom's like, okay, you go back to public school, because we couldn't even afford, because you go to private school for free, but you still have to buy uniforms and books. And we, like, my God, that was like the least of our problems. Like, like, Jesus Christ. And this is where I tap into like education wasn't important to my family, because as you can see, the circumstances was more like, we need money. We need you guys. Yes, exactly. We were raised for survival our whole life. Like we weren't raised to be a star or an entrepreneur or a college grad. Like those things weren't. Someone asked me the other day, they were like, "Oh, where'd your parents graduate from college from?" And I almost busted out laughing just because they don't know me. And like, I'm like, man, if you knew anything, you would never ask me that question. But it was just funny. Like, oh, where'd they graduate from?
Yeah.
I was like, Brown University. No. Like that stuff I can laugh at. You know what I mean? There's so much of it I can laugh at, but us hashing it all out definitely hits a soft spot for me, or like a trauma spot for me. I don't know. But so I started going to public school. I didn't care a thing about school at all. I just went to class, and the thing is though, I want to graduate high school because my mom never graduated high school and my sister never graduated high school. My life goal, I was like, man, I want to be like the girl in the family that gets a high school diploma. Like that was my goal. But at the same time, you know how like high school kids are like, you have a curfew and they teach you how to drive, and you study and your parents look at your report card and you get in trouble for bad grades. None of that for me. It was just like, figure it out, boo. Like mom's working 3 jobs. Like I have to support myself. I have to come up with money to feed myself and take care of myself at this point, because my mom can't do it. She simply cannot do it. She's taking care of a baby herself. It's too hard. So I honestly partied a lot in high school, just being so transparent. Like I'm not gonna act like an angel. I didn't have parents that really cared. You know what I mean? So like as a kid, you're not gonna be like studious. I didn't want their life. Like I didn't want to repeat history and have the same life as them. But at the same time, I'm a naive young kid just in the wild, wild west on their own. And I needed resources. And I remember so my mom had probably been on her own for 2 or 3 years, and God, we struggled so hard those years. Those were the worst years. So she eventually met a man, and it was my stepdad, which I never liked him.
Oh.
I never liked this man. So this is during high school. So I'm probably in 10th grade now. She's met a man. And I'm so happy for her, to be honest with you, because he was not a rich man at all, but it would be 2 incomes, which puts us back in a way better spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was so happy for her. Like, thank God you met someone. And she was happy again.
Yeah.
This woman was miserable her entire life, and she's the sweetest woman in the world, most hardest working woman in the world. Most accepting. You know how parents, like, you have to hide stuff from them so you don't get in trouble? Dude, you can tell my mom anything, no judgment. But again, look at my background where I'm raised. Like, how are you going to judge me? Like, you know. So my mom was the best. I was happy for her, but I didn't like my stepdad, and I needed resources. So I started living with my boyfriends in high school. So in 10th grade, I lived with a boyfriend. He had a car. I could get to school and back every day. I could learn how to drive through him. It was resources, you know. Live with him. Broke up with him, lived with some friends, girlfriends. 11th grade year, new boyfriend, lived with him fully, helped me pay for my cell phone. He taught me how to, this one really taught me how to drive a car. He was the same age as me. He just had more resources than me.
Yeah.
And these people are not rich people. These people just have a little more.
Yeah.
And I remember on my 10th grade year, I had failed math and I had to take summer school. And like there was no transportation for me. So I remember the boyfriend had a car and he would let me take it every morning to get to my summer school class and back. So I was like, this guy's a resource. Like I can live with this guy. And I'm an 11th grader, you know?
Yeah.
That relationship too was just like absolutely horrible. I won't go into the details of what happened in it, but it was horrible. And no one should have been in that relationship. And I lived with him and his dad. Mm-hmm. And then, by the 12th grade, we had broken up over the summer of 11th grade year, and I started living with my girlfriends throughout my 12th grade year. I had 2 friends, primarily Deanna and Andrea. God bless their parents, by the way, whose parents let some random girl stay over 6 nights out of the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they totally did, and I stayed with them. And then I met Tyler at the end of my 11th grade year.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And everyone around me and every guy I dated, it just, I don't want to shit on them, but they were dumb. They were just like not good. They were patterns of my past life that I didn't want. And I saw that. Like, I was like, but then that's all I had dated. So I was like, damn, is this how every man is out there? Like, is there such thing as like, I just, you know, that was the concept of a man to me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
you did know
like
better.
a tyrant,
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
But also a resource. And I was kind of raised that way too. And then I met Tyler, and Tyler's parents were traditional. They were smart. His family was smart. They were really kind. They were loving. They were strict. But the thing is about Ty, and I stayed away from kids like that because I was so different, you know, that just didn't work for me. But the thing about Ty is he was sneaky and he would go out and drink and party with us. So I thought he was the coolest guy ever, but I got to know him and I was like, oh my God, he's so smart. This is a smart man. I met a smart man. Like, this is crazy. And he wanted to date me. And I was like, I don't want to date you. I just date 2 crazy motherfuckers and I don't want to date you. I don't want to date anyone. I want to rage. I want to party every single night. And keep in mind, I'm in 12th grade. Like, I'm supposed to be going home and going to bed. But I was like, I just want to party with my girlfriends and live the best life. And I did that. I did all of that. And I had the best time, barely graduated high school. But like, as the year went on, we had so many classes together. We like grew together and closer and closer and closer. And at the very end of our senior year, I was like, okay, I'm ready to date. Do you want to still date me? And he was like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So he waited for you.
He waited for me. And thank God, because he like saved me. And I hate to say a man saved me, but he kind of did, because I couldn't have done half of what I've done without him.
Yeah.
You know?
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Makes a partnership so special.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know about you, but when I hear of Gatorade, I instantly think of athletes, in that I don't necessarily fall into the category of someone that would need Gatorade or would need that level of hydration with them throughout the day. But I'm wrong. Hydration is for everyone. Hydration does not discriminate. It is for everyone, not just athletes. And when I'm staying hydrated in my day-to-day life, I don't want a huge amount of sodium. And I like that this Gatorade Hydration Boost has nearly half the amount compared to Liquid IV, so I can enjoy this Gatorade Hydration Booster throughout the day to help me stay hydrated. It has electrolyte levels suitable for all day, always on hydration, so you can enjoy this product throughout the day. It's an advanced blend of electrolytes from watermelon, sea salt, and other sodium and potassium salts. This hydration booster contains 30 calories and 5 grams of sugar versus Liquid IV, which contains 45 calories and 11 grams of sugar. They are packed with essential vitamins backed by Gatorade Superior Science experts, and there's no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or added colors in them, which is always just an absolute plus. So remember, hydration is for everyone. We all need it. It is so important for our everyday, day-to-day lives, and you need to start putting your water to work with Gatorade Hydration Booster. You can use code BOOST20 on Gatorade.com to try it for yourself for 20% off. Who doesn't want one less thing to think about, especially when it comes to working out? That's what's so great about Tonal. From picking the perfect weight to tracking your progress to suggesting what to do next based on muscle readiness, Tonal takes the guesswork out of getting a great workout in. You guys know, if you've listened to this podcast before, you've probably heard me talk about Tonal. We recently had one put into our garage gym, and I can't tell you how exciting it was because it's honestly like having a personal trainer in your home. It's the smartest workout equipment there is. And they've really revolutionized the approach to strength training by blending cutting edge technology with exercise science to deliver the most efficient workouts. Tonal learns from your movements and sets optimal weight for every move to keep you challenged throughout your workout. They automatically track your progress and suggest program and workout recommendations based on your goals. Tonal brings the effectiveness of a personal trainer to your home, intuitively adapting to your needs and providing coaching cues to keep you working out safely and efficiently. And right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off for your Tonal purchase with promo code SQUEEZE. It's holiday season. This is going to be a great gift for somebody. You can head to tonal.com and use promo code SQUEEZE for $200 off your purchase. Again, that's tonal.com, promo code SQUEEZE for $200 off your purchase. This episode is brought to you by Saks.com. Saks.com is making it so easy for me to shop this holiday season, finding the perfect gifts for even the pickiest of people on my list, including myself. I don't know if you guys struggle with trying to put together a wish list. I feel like every year Taylor's like, what are you eyeing? What do you want? And I just have the hardest time putting a list together, but also so does he. And even when he doesn't put a list together, shopping for men in general, I just feel like is so hard. I struggle with Taylor every year to figure out what to get him, but everyone and every personality, like my hard to shop self and husband, there is something for them at Saks.com. Their holiday gift guide includes gifts for her, gifts for him, stocking stuffers, beauty gifts, gifts for kids. There's really a gift for everyone on Saks.com. And I just love a good structured website. Their website is so easy to shop. It does something for my brain scrolling through the pages. They just make it so easy and take the hassle out of holiday shopping. Saks.com can also help you find your own holiday vibe. You can upgrade your party looks with a cult favorite Chloe bag or treat yourself to those Gucci loafers that will work with any holiday and get together. And I know that you've been eyeing those because trust me, I have too. You can find gifts guaranteed to bring joy to every hard to shop person for this holiday season at Saks.com.
At what point going forward, you guys are dating? At what point do you guys decide to move out to California?
Ooh, this part of the story gets interesting. So Ty had moved away to college.
Okay.
Very smart kid, wanted to get an engineering degree. I'm like, maybe I don't even know how to do math. I have a funny story. Maybe I shouldn't tell on this podcast, but I take online classes and night school at this time. As I was telling you guys, I couldn't get into college because my GPA was so low graduating high school. I had a teacher chew me out, by the way, the night before rehearsal. She was like, Miss Lee. And I was like, what? And she was like, good God, your GPA is terrible. You're bare. I was like, am I going to graduate? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, bitch, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I was like, that's all. And she was like, like, what did you do? And she wanted more from me.
Yeah.
The teacher wanted more from me, and she was
Yeah.
disappointed. But anyways, and Ty, by the way, was like 4.0 kid. I'm like, Ty, you can't let me cheat more. Anyways, he would help me out a lot with my math classes. And I remember when it came down to the exam, you have to do it live on webcam. So I was like, you're going to hide in the closet and I'm going to write down the math problem. I'm going to slide it to you. You're going to do the math problem. You're going to slide it back and I'm going to type it in the computer.
There's no way that worked.
Do you want to know how it didn't work? He got diarrhea in the closet and started farting so loud, uncontrollably, and had to get out of the closet to take a poop. He literally couldn't stay in the closet and ran out, and I had to slam my laptop closed and failed the exam, failed the class.
Then you were screwed.
Yeah, because he got diarrhea. He literally got.
Ty.
I know. He literally got diarrhea. My cheating scheme. I deserve that.
Literally not where I thought the story was going.
No,
He
it
got
was
diarrhea.
like you got caught.
I really think it would work because it started to work. Like it was happening. Like it was working.
It
Like
was
they
working.
couldn't see the paper go over and come back. It was working like a charm.
And then he got some stomach issues.
He got some stomach issues and blew it for me.
Literally.
But see, this is my
Literally blew it.
okay, that's horrible to do that, guys. Never cheat in college because you're gonna end up having to drop out anyways. If you can't pass the math class, classes are only gonna get harder. And this is like my naiveness, you know what I mean? And this is my survival skills kicking in. Like
For
any
sure.
way to make something happen and survive. That's how I was raised.
Yeah.
So that's just a funny side story. But
That is hysterical. You should give him some Tums to take in there or something.
I'm like, dude, you couldn't just fold it out in there for me.
I think you said he diarrhea to the closet. I'm literally still dying. It's so good.
Right? Can you imagine picturing this? Like, what an idiot, first of all. Why would he go along with this plan? He's so much smarter than me in that way. I'm like, why would you go along with
He's
this?
supportive.
He is so supportive. And okay, so I'm working as a medical assistant. I'm going to night school, taking online classes. He's at a big university, probably 2 hours away, getting an engineering degree. I'm about to fail out of college, to be honest with you, and I'm making $9 an hour as a medical assistant, $9.50, I think, and I'm totally on my own at this point. I have moved out. I moved out shortly after high school with a couple of girlfriends, and we found this like rundown house that nothing worked in the house. Okay, no oven, nothing, no stove, nothing worked in the house. But I think the rent, I'm not even kidding you, I think we split like $400. 3 girls split $400. So I mean, like a girl out of high school, we can afford that, right?
Yeah.
My girlfriend's got me on at a dermatology office, and I trained on the job, so I was up to $9.50. I went from $7.50 an hour to found a job to make $9.50 an hour, which then supported me. And then I was able to go to night school because I just wanted something more for myself, but I didn't know what. And I wanted it to be successful, and I didn't want to end up like my family. Like that was my huge goal of mine. And Ty went to college, so I was like, maybe I should go to college. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea if I could barely graduate high school. I was on the cusp of like not making it through. Like it was, things were looking hairy for me. Diarrhea story happened. And I was like, I got to figure something else out.
Yeah.
And then I ran across a couple girls doing a what's in my purse bag on YouTube, and the wheels were turning from then on. The wheels just, I was like, this is it. This is it. A star is born.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the movie Maxine?
No.
She's like a serial killer, but I relate to her a lot. Not in the serial killer ways, but she grew up in a rough life and she wanted to be a star, make something out of herself and live a different life. And her motto in life was, I will not live a life I do not deserve. And I'm like, dang, Maxine, like that was my, and she's like Southern in the movie. It's so good.
wow.
And so like every time I see the movie, I'm like, oh, she is me. I am her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna drop out of college and be a YouTube star. And like, this is 2012.
I was going to say, to be clear, at this time, that didn't really exist. There wasn't YouTubers. There wasn't influencers.
Yeah.
You had this idea that was foreign.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't live in Los Angeles where we're very hot on and like hip with everything.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we're early on everything. I'm in Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, so people are really looking at me and like discouraging me and like, girl,
That's crazy.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know what you're gonna do. A lot of people, the number one thing people would tell me is YouTube's gonna go away. That's the number thing. They would all be like, it's an app, or it wasn't even an app back then. It's a website.
You're gonna put all your marbles in this YouTube
Exactly.
thing, and then like MySpace or whatever.
Yep.
It's not gonna
Just
exist.
like MySpace went away.
Yeah.
They're like,
And then you're like, what? You put all your marbles in this website that doesn't exist anymore.
And ignorance is bliss, because I was like, I think it's going to be there forever. And no one was rich off YouTube, okay? We're talking like all these girls I'm watching are like in their 1-bedroom apartments driving their Honda Accords. And I'm like, that's my goal in life, is to support myself and never count on anyone and a man, and never be in the trouble that my parents went through. Like, this would cover my bills.
Yeah.
And this is a career for me. And like, I loved makeup so much. And I was like, I can be a makeup star. And so I bought a camcorder off eBay, you know, like the ones you would record like a soccer game with, not even like a camera.
Yeah.
These bitches today have you have everything that y'all are everybody's so lucky. I'm like, if I had this back then, it would have changed my life.
Yeah.
Like, but back then I still had a flip phone.
Yeah.
And I bought a $100 refurbished camcorder. My first YouTube video is still up.
Really?
And I want people, go for it, watch it, and look how horrible it is, and just know that girl has not one thought behind her eyes. But she's a dreamer. She's a
Definitely
dreamer.
a
And I
dreamer.
started.
She's a doer.
I gotta watch that video.
Yeah, please don't. No.
So you're how old at that time where you're like, I'm gonna try this YouTube
I think
thing?
I was between 23 and 24.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to be a YouTube star, so I had started my YouTube channel. Ty's getting his degree. He's still at college. And I would drive up on the weekend when I was off work and be like, can you help me film this? And, you know, like, can you pause on this degree for a minute?
Yeah.
I got a YouTube video
your
I would like.
engineering
Yeah,
thing?
this whole little engineering thing you got going. I have a YouTube video I like to film.
Yeah.
So I was obsessed with it too. Like, I really feel like I had found my calling. Like, I felt like, I don't know, like the world was colorful again. Like, I had something to live for. Like, this was it. And I was working at a dermatologist, so every day I would come in with my videos, and God bless my coworkers. I'd be like, this with the whole computer. Like, you see it? Like, are you watching the whole thing? Like, making them all line up and watch it, because I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, I'm a star. Like, I did this.
So how long had you been doing it before you guys moved out to California?
2 years.
Okay.
I did it for 2 years. I got to 10,000 subscribers in Alabama. That's a star. A star is born. And I told Tyler, I was like, he's about to graduate college at this point as those 2 years went by. And I was like, I had quit. I was working part-time at my job because I was living off student loan money that I was supposed to buy classes with. But instead, I decided to pay my bills with it, go part-time so I could upload 5 YouTube videos a week. Because, you know, they'll give you some of the loan money. Back then, they don't know how it works now, but they would give you your full financial aid, and then you would go ahead and buy your first semester of classes, but they would give you the second semester of money, and you're supposed to just be responsible and go buy your classes when the time comes. And I'm like, oh, you gave me a lump sum of money? Cool, this is an investment for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it to pay some of my bills and be a YouTuber, and drop out and just take the money and run. So I did that, started my channel. Ty's graduating college. I was like, this sounds crazy, but like, I want to live in Los Angeles and be like one of those big YouTubers out there. Like, that's what I want to do. And it's crazy because you would think at some point, because of how smart he is, he would put some logic into this and be like, whoa, let's pump the brakes. Let's think about this. He just wasn't. He believed me. I don't know what I told this man. He's a fool. I mean, I guess he's not, hindsight, but it's really crazy he believed me. So he took a job out of college at Frito-Lay. We were going to move to Macon, Georgia. And we went to look at the area. And I was like, I literally told this man, I said, I can't be a star here. I can't be a YouTube star here. I was like, this city will not. He's like, you can drive to Atlanta. I was like, nothing's happening for influencers in Atlanta. I was like, I have to live in LA. And he was like, well, there was this job with Amazon. I was like, Amazon? And he was like, yeah, they offered me like a little interview. Because industrial engineering degree, like you can easily get a job. It's sought after. So you get like college fair, job fairs. You'll get a lot of offers out of college with that. And he's like, but I had to fly to Illinois for the job interview. Like, it's a huge deal, and there's no telling where we'll end up. And I was like, but there's a chance we could end up in California. And he was like, yeah, you can end up anywhere in the United States and even in Europe. So I said, you're going to tell Frito-Lay to fuck off? You're going to tell him you're going back to school? I don't care. He's like, I already accepted the job. I'm like, we're not taking that. And you're going to go do that Amazon interview. And so I remember we went to the Montgomery airport, teeny tiny airport, all flights canceled, was going to miss the interview. Atlanta's 2.5 hours away. It was the biggest storm ever. It rains a ton in Alabama. And so they had grounded all the flights. And I said, get in the car. I said, I'm going to drive you over 100 miles an hour. You're not missing the interview. Like, you're not. Wow. And I got my red Honda Accord and down the freeway. We call them the interstate there.
Yeah.
Going 110 in one of the biggest storms, passing 18-wheelers and everything. Tyler had never flown on a plane before, and neither had I. I've never even been to an airport before.
Oh, wow.
Never in my life. Never even drove through an airport before.
Yeah.
And I got him to the airport. When they were closing the door, they let him on the plane because Amazon booked him a first class ticket. So they were like, your seat's still open. And they put him on the plane, and he got the job.
Wow.
And they said, there's pick your top 3 places you want to live. And I said Riverside, Moreno Valley, and there was a Bay Area, California.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got Riverside.
Okay.
And we loaded up a U-Haul with all my thrift store furniture and junk that was literal trash. Strapped my Honda on the back and hit the road.
What did your at this point? What did your mom think about this? Was there any?
I love this question.
Yeah, like you're like, I'm gonna move to California, and the goal is to,
Be a star.
Be a star. Do you know the craziest thing? And this gives so much context to who my mom was. She was like, hit the fucking road and never come back here again.
Oh, wow.
She was like, you're a star. And I cry because she's gone now. So it makes me sad talking about her. But she was the coolest mom in the world. She would hype me. And, most parents would be like, you got to be careful. I had never even been to Los Angeles. I flew out here on my last dollars that I'd saved forever to go to a beauty convention in Pasadena for 48 hours, and went back to Alabama. But I'd never even been in Los Angeles before, and I was like ready to move there. Never been to Riverside, never been to the West Coast really.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, get in the car and never come back here.
Yeah.
Go. Because she wanted me to have like such a different life than her. And it's like so cool. My mom was like, no parent would do that. I don't think. I think most parents would be like, we got to look out for you. We got to make sure you're staying in school and you're going to have a great life. My mom was like, I can just tell you're a star.
And,
isn't that nuts?
And a lot of parents would want you close.
Yeah, okay,
they would
that
put
too.
their own, I don't want to say selfishness, but them wanting you close ahead of what they think is actually best for you. But it sounds like your mom is the definition of, she was able to see what her life looked like and knew if you stayed in that environment, you may turn out the same way.
Hit the nail on the head. Literally, you hit the nail on the head.
As tough as that may have been for her,
yeah,
she just truly wanted what was
and
best for
at that
you.
time, like, I was like a steadiness in their life because I had a consistent income and I had a car and like I had like my own apartment and like I was like kind of a help for them, you know, for my mom to be like, get out of here.
She'd seen enough to believe that you can do it.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because I hadn't proved anything. I hadn't really. I guess I proved that I could survive on my own.
Yeah.
My mom had also never even been on a plane before, or I mean, we didn't go anywhere growing up. I mean, I know, and I hear these stories of families going to Disneyland and stuff growing up, and I'm like, what do you mean you went to Disney in a park?
Yeah.
You didn't go to Florida with your drunk dad fighting everyone? I'm like, wow. But I'm really happy I didn't experience those things, because I'm going to promise you none of the amazing best parts of my life would have happened if my childhood wasn't like that. And I do believe that. It made me who I am.
Yeah. It's so cool you're able to like have that perspective.
Oh, yeah. I know for a fact if I had a loving father that helped me with stuff and all, I would just have like a traditional Southern life. I would have married a man, had a bunch of kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that life. It's not the life I wanted. I wanted so much more, and I never would have got that without my chaotic childhood and like how I was brought up.
Yeah. And I feel like it gave you the resources to be resourceful, to be scrappy, to like
100%.
work hard and like really launch this YouTube career for you.
And I never would have made it, honestly, because it took so much hustling and working and networking and like being street smart, if you want to call it, to get to where I got. And I never would have got there with like traditional, amazing, supportive parents. I really wouldn't have. Yeah.
Okay, so you and Ty make the move to Riverside for him to work at his Amazon job and for you to go after this dream of yours.
Yep.
When did things change? After you make the move, when do you go from the 10,000 subscribers, that's awesome in Montgomery,
That's awesome in Montgomery.
to being one of the
Humbleina.
biggest YouTubers on the planet?
Well, you know, I believe in manifestation, but back then I never even heard the word before. And I did everything that you do to manifest something, put into actions, thoughts, visualization, like everything you do, I was doing. I was working. Also, when I moved out here, again, I was humbled because remember, I think I'm like so big online. I come out here and everybody's got millions of followers. I'm like, oh God, I only got 10,000 followers. We're not going to make it. So he's working full time. We have a tiny 1-bedroom apartment in Riverside, California. By the way, I thought Riverside was paradise because of where I came from.
Absolutely.
And people would shit on it in Los Angeles. And I'm like, I love Riverside. What are you guys talking about? Leave Riverside alone. It's so nice there. They have a movie theater and malls and have restaurants and everything. It's so cool. I love Riverside. Still do. IE people, what's up?
Shout out Riverside.
Shout out to Riverside. Those are my people. But I quickly was like, damn, like I'm going to have to, because like no matter what, babes, I just moved across the country and left everything. We are making this happen. So I immediately went to hustle mode. I got a job at Dick's Sporting Goods because like I wasn't making money still like offline to help pay bills. So I'd work at Dick's Sporting Goods part-time out here. And then I would film like 5 YouTube videos a week. So every single day of the week I'm uploading. Okay. And then I'm driving to LA on my days off because there'd be like a little event or something to mingle with other creators. Sure. And keep in mind, I thought Riverside was really close to LA and I didn't know what traffic was like. It turns out it's like a hard 2 hours out, like a hard 2 hours. Like I'm doing this multiple times a week and I've never even driven in a big city before. So I'm like hitting it in Atlanta. But to me, none of those things scared me or matter because my eye is on the goal. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever it takes. So I'm driving out to LA and I was very, like, I didn't have guidance. Like, I think a lot of people's parents guide them. Like, you start doing YouTube, they, like, guide them on what to do, say, how to be. Like, don't get yourself in trouble. You know, don't share too much. Don't tell your personal stuff. I didn't have any of that. So, like, I came online guns blazing, and I would tell you anything, everything. I was the most raw version of myself at all times. And I genuinely think that's why I blew up online because huge personality, really smart about the content I was creating, and I was very analytical with YouTube, and I knew how their system worked. I knew how their titles worked. I knew how their thumbnails and text, like I had broken it down to a science. So I knew how to get the clicks, but you don't build an audience off that. You build an audience off who you are. And I was so raw back then. You could ask me anything. I'd be like, oh yeah, and just tell you, like, because I didn't have anyone to guide me, like, hey, you might not want to share that with millions of people. You know,
you were like, no filter, no BS.
Filter.
This is me. Love me or hate me.
100%. That was me online. Just Alabama girl in the wild, wild west, having the time of her life, right? And it blew me up within 2 years. You know, Ty had worked for 6 years on this engineering degree, and I was like, we've made so much money. Like your paycheck compared to what I'm making online was nothing. Like he would make in 2 weeks what I would make off one brand deal. So it was just like senseless for him to be working, and I needed help because things were blowing up for me. And so he quit his job. We moved to Los Angeles, and I have officially made it. I'm a huge YouTuber, huge in the beauty community. Okay. The beauty community is just kind of blowing up, and we're developing this quote unquote beauty community online, and I'm a huge face of it. You know what I mean? You think of 2016 makeup, there's me and Jaclyn Hill and Manny MUA stamped right there, you know?
Yeah.
Iconic even.
Yeah.
Truly. And this is where things start to pivot and downfall. This is where I land myself in a lot of drama. Shortly after, probably had like one good year of being a star that I always wanted to be. And it honestly blew up in my face.
Well, let's dive into it.
As people caught on to how big beauty was growing so fast, the drama in it grew just as fast.
But real part about this industry is as quickly as you get things, you also can have that rug pulled from underneath you.
And I had no concept of that. I always craved certainty and a steady life. So when the rug got ripped out from underneath me was the one thing it gave me right back in that childhood spot that I had done everything to escape from. That was a horrible mistake for me. And my response made it even worse. And that I too have myself to blame for 100%.
If you could go back to that moment, respond differently, what would you have done?